If one wants to understand the developments that we have made in South Asia, in traditional knowledge system, in basic sciences and technologies, we need to go back to the roots. And I believe that the roots are in the Harappan culture. Now in the next two parts, I am going to discuss mainly the contribution of the Harappans to the world history and also the relevance of the Harappan studies. Because usually we do not really talk in our research articles and books about the contributions and the relevance, and common people are interested to know about these. People think that why should we study Harappan culture, and therefore they should really understand the relevance and the contributions, and then they will realize the importance of the Harappan culture. Now Harappan culture has certainly set the foundation of modern South Asia. I will feel that the roots are in the Harappan levels, and therefore we need to understand these roots. Right from the Harappan times, South Asia was the most important region in the world. Not only it was the most populous region, not only that some of the important sciences and technologies were developed here, but also some of the important and major world religions also were born here. And therefore South Asia has played an important role in the world history. When it comes to understand the contribution of the Harappans to the history or to science and technology, we need to discuss one by one, because we have excavated a lot of data from the Harappan sites, and this data can enable us to understand the important contributions made by the Harappans. Now we have reported number of Harappan sites. More than 2,000 Harappan sites have been discovered so far in Indian subcontinent, and they are spread on a very large area. When we look at the distribution of the sites, it appears that right from Iranian border in north, we have sites up to Jammu, and in south, in fact, it is up to Gujarat, Maharashtra border, whereas in the eastern part, it is up to the western part of UP, and on the western side, the Harappan sites are found up to Makran coast. So they are occupied a very large area, almost more than 1 million square kilometer area, almost double the size of Pakistan today. When we look at the early Harappan scenario, it appears that during the early Harappan phase, roughly from 5,500 BC up to 2600 BC, we come across number of what we call as the regional cultures. We have cultures like Soti, then Hakra, Kodiji, Amri, Kuli, Nal, and many other in fact. Now in Gujarat, we have identified Padri culture, Anartha culture. So they give us impression that there were a number of regional cultures during the early Harappan phase. But around 2600 BC, most of the cultures were integrated. from 2600 BC to 2000, almost 2000 or 1900 BC, we see a uniform, some sort of integrated culture over such a large area. So this, when you look at this distribution, when you look at the development, it appears that there is a uniform, a standardized culture coming into existence around 2600 BC. So according to me, this shows the concept of nation or maybe empire. When it comes to the concept of nation or empire, we always feel that it starts from the Mauryan period in the subcontinent, but it goes back to the Harappan times. In fact, what these people have done, they have not only integrated the different early Harappan cultures, but they have created a uniform, standardized format over a large area. And this integration was made peacefully. When it comes to the construction of nation or empire, we always believe that nation or empire is created by forceful means, by maybe conquering the regions. But we do not see that type of evidence in the Harappan times. What we are seeing, that the seamless integration has happened automatically, and this is really very important. People need to understand that the roots of nation, empire goes to the Harappan times. Perhaps this is one unique example in the world where a nation or empire was created by peaceful means, and certainly the credit of that goes to the Harappan people. So this is, according to me, one of the most important contributions of the Harappans. Now when it comes to the Harappan civilization phase, so far it was thought that it is highly regimented, or the highly standardized. Standardization is there. Standardization, one can see in their town planning. More or less, same town planning is found almost all over the Harappan region. We also see standardization in their seals, in their weights, in the size of bricks or the ratio of the bricks. 1:2:3 or 1:2:4. This ratio is uniform over such a large area. So we can see that standardization there also. But then Harappans had occupied different ecological zones. So we see from the archaeological remains, we get the impression that the food habits of the people were different. Also, probably there were different groups. There was a lot of diversity in the Harappan period. So, diversity was used by the Harappans for their own development, and they created this nationhood impact in the Indian subcontinent. So we see maybe diversity in the food habit, maybe regional diversity, that is reflected in the archaeological data also. Then also Harappans have used a unique painted pottery. The shapes or the forms are almost uniform all over the Harappan region. Forms like dish-on stand or perforated jars, beakers, goblets, they are there in fact, they are considered to be the classical Harappan shapes. But in each region, in the Saraswati region, we have some different types, different forms introduced. In Gujarat, we have more in fact, bowl type varieties, less dish in Gujarat. So that also reflects the food habit. Perhaps in Gujarat, people have taken more liquid food and therefore they needed maybe bowls. Whereas maybe in the Saraswati region, in the Indus region, you find more dish. So probably maybe roti and this type of food was prepared there more, eaten there more. So we do see some kind of diversity in that also. In pottery types, even pottery decorations also. Outside the Indus region, the pottery is not really elaborately decorated as we find at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So there also, in that also one can see some regional diversity also. And this diversity has come into existence because some of the regions, like for example Gujarat, was close to the Charkoti communities of central India and Maharashtra. So there was a lot of maybe give and take, a lot of impact on each other's culture. A lot of maybe influence has gone from Rajasthan also and vice versa. So because of these, we also do see some diversity. So the concept today in India, we always take a pride in unity in diversity. And this unity in diversity has come into existence right in the Harappan times and continues. So we are quite familiar in fact with this. And we know that what are the strength of the this particular aspect and how we can make use of that for the nation building. So that is also one very, very important contribution the Harappans have made. Then perhaps Harappans are taught, particularly maybe in South Asia, people about developing a very well-planned cities. Perhaps this is the earliest evidence in fact of very well-planned cities in even in the world. So this is considered to be a very important contribution again. And it's not only that they have developed a well-planned city, but the cities have a unique drainage pattern, sanitary pattern. We don't find that in fact anywhere. In fact, some of the scholars, I read once one Chinese scholar writing that how Harappans could think about this pattern in fact 5,000 years ago. And he said that perhaps this is one of the wonders in the world. The drainage pattern that the Harappans have developed within the Harappan cities is indeed unique, much even better, impeccable than the modern system. Even though maybe we have adopted this system from our past, from our ancestors. What we see, Harappans have within the houses, they always had a bathroom and toilet. Every household almost had toilet and bathroom. And they were connected. The bathroom was connected to the open drainage. Toilets were connected to the closed drainage. So they had this network. Then within the cities, within the settlements, they also dug wells. They provided water facilities. At Dholavira they dug underground water tanks. So we have very good evidence about the excellent evidence of water harvesting, water management in the Harappan period also. So what they did in fact, they developed this network, drainage network in these cities. And they had the main drainage. This is the evidence coming from the site of Harappa proper. So this drainage network was connected to the main drainage, and the main drainage was taken outside the city wall and emptied somewhere. So that indicates that the Harappan cities were very, very clean. They have made sure that the dirty water is not spread within the settlement. So that means they have really taken care of their cities. They were very clean cities. Today our governments have to make different plans for cleaning cities. But in fact that is their impact in our blood. We should learn from the Harappans this particular aspect. So the Harappan people are so healthy. Some of my Korean colleagues working on the Harappan pathology, they were at the end of the study, they were very disappointed because they did not find many diseases in fact prevalent in the Harappan population. So that itself suggests that because the Harappan cities were clean, people were very hygienic, and people also very, very strong. Skeleton remains that decayed. That also gives idea that people were very strong. We always believe that the commode system at the site of Harappa, they have excavated a few commodes. We always thought that a commode system has come from the west, very late. But the earliest evidence of commode system is coming from the Harappan levels. So probably we have taught the world impact, the use of these. And some system which was introduced in the toilet continues on today. At Harappa they found in the toilet one big pot, earthen pot, in which there is a small lota. And even today in our toilets we have this arrangement. So there is a continuity from the Harappan times till the present. So this is also important contribution that the Harappans have made. Then the concept of swimming pool. Again, we always thought that swimming pool concept has come from the West. But I strongly believe that the so-called public bath excavated at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they are actually the swimming pool of that time. Because the arrangement that they have made is really unique. At Mohenjo-daro I could see when I visited, there is a well by the side of the swimming pool. So probably they were drawing water from the well, periodically changing the water from the swimming tank. And there are a number of rooms around the swimming tank, probably for people to change their clothes. So that system was developed by the Harappans. Maybe this particular system was available only for certain class of the society, because in both the cases the evidence comes from the citadel part. The Harappan cities are always divided into citadel, slightly on the higher ground, made for maybe the higher class people, and the lower town. But this is also very, very important that the world has learned impact this particular concept from the Harappans. Then we always believe that the modern construction method was developed in Europe. Even today, a brick wall, when we construct the brick wall, we suggest that this we are following, or we have the impression that we are following the Western system, or what is known as the English bond system. In the English bond system, one line of the brick is placed horizontal, the next line is vertical. So this system is being practiced even today. But that the earliest evidence of that comes from the Harappan levels, almost 5,000 years ago. This system was developed. This is a scientific method which Harappans have developed, and it has not really lost its relevance even today. All over the world we follow this. Now this, the laying bricks in this particular fashion was known to the European countries very late. But the pioneers were Harappans, and therefore I feel that instead of calling this English bond, it should be called Harappan bond, because this is the invention made by the Harappans. Now this system was adopted mainly to make sure that the wall does not break, because the joints don't come below each other, and therefore the wall remains strong. So this innovative method was introduced by the Harappans for that purpose. They created that ratio 1:2:3 or 1:2:4. Now this ratio was meant to develop maybe some angle buildings. And there are so many, at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, at Dholavira, you find a lot of these buildings in fact perfectly in perpendicular angle. So that was really required. Then we see a lot of the roads are perfectly in ratio. The bigger road is maybe bigger, 2 times bigger than the smaller one. So that ratio is followed by the Harappans. And I strongly believe, and there is evidence in fact, that the Harappans also introduced some measuring instruments. So that means the Harappans knew mathematics. So that science was also probably developed by the Harappans. But since we know we are not able to decipher the Harappan script, we don't know, because there is no written records about that. So that must have been developed by the Harappans. Then the sites like Lothal, Kalibanga, Harappa, even Mohenjo-daro, they have produced some evidence about the different measuring instrument used by the Harappans. They may have made a lot of this measuring instrument on wood, which has not survived. But at least at Kalibanga they have found the measuring instrument made of terracotta. At Lothal it is on ivory. So some of them have survived. So this is also a very important contribution that the Harappans have made. We need to understand that. The Harappans were great seafarers. They developed the international trade. And they are the pioneers in developing ships and boats. Perhaps the earliest evidence of that comes from the Harappan level. Probably they have taught the world how to build ships and boats. There is a site called Lothal in Gujarat. Lothal has a dockyard, and that is the earliest dockyard anywhere in the world. Dockyard come port. So that building, that structure, which is identified as dockyard, that was used for building ships and boats, for repairing ships and boats. Plus, also that portion was used for the trade purpose, as a port also. So that is also important. This is, how many of you know really about this? But this is the actual evidence that we have. So on the basis of that, we are making the statements. There is so much to learn from the Harappan trade strategy. And some of the modern countries have adopted these strategies. I don't say that they have learned from the Harappan, but the knowledge has spread, survived somewhere in different parts of the world also. The Harappans did not have the benefit of having a lot of natural resources required to make some basic crafts like beads, for example. A lot of semi-precious stone was used for making beads, which came from outside the Harappan region, controlled by the local or the regional Chalcolithic or the Neolithic farmers. They did not have metal with them. Copper was the one which was used by the Harappans, not iron. So that metal was controlled by the Ganeshwar, Jodhpura region. The Khetri region was the source right from the Harappan times till modern time. That is the source exploited by the Harappans. So like that, we find these scattered resources outside the Harappan region. So what they did, in fact, Harappans did, they established very good relationship with the contemporary population. They did not have that conflicting relation with them. To make sure that there is a seamless maybe input of the raw material to the Harappan settlements, and they had developed they had the technology, developed number of workshops. Some sites were devoted only for the manufacturing purpose, whereas at some cities like Dholavira, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, there was a separate section of the manufacturing. So that was made, but because it is not that the artifacts were made only for the domestic use, but it was also made on large scale or mass scale for the trade purpose also. So how to generate wealth? Because they needed wealth to develop cities and towns, to develop urbanization. So they started going outside the Harappan region. From the hinterland communities, of course, they got the raw material by establishing good relationship. In fact, at the site of Farmana, we have found some skeletal remains of women which were scientifically proved that they were not the local women. On the basis of the diet they had, in fact, in their early ages. So they will try to trace their origin, and the origin of that goes to the Ganeshwar Jodhpura region, near Khetri region. So probably what they have done, in fact, the one stage maybe further they must have gone. Not only establish good relationship, but probably at some stage they must have established even matrimonial alliance with the population outside the Harappan region. And this is one example which we can use for making this inference. This is not conclusion, of course. So this is how the Harappans got the raw material from the surrounding area, from the hinterland area. And then, of course, they had the technology. They started manufacturing these various artifacts. They made a lot of finished goods from these raw materials, and they supplied first to the same people from whom they obtained the raw material. That is how they began to develop their wealth. And then they realized that there was a greater demand for the articles made of maybe semi-precious stone, ivory, shell in West Asia, in Mesopotamia, in Persian Gulf region, also in Egypt, probably also in China, about which we do not know. We are going to investigate that also. So this trade was developed so that they can get more wealth from that region. In fact, we have two evidences. One is the Mesopotamian text, because they have got the written records from 3000 BC. And the text mentions about the region called Meluha. And Meluha has been identified with the Harappan region. And then in that text, they have given the list of the objects coming from Meluha. So there is a mention about the articles made of red stone, that is carnelian. This articles of red metal, that is copper or bronze, ivory, shale, lapis lazuli. There are a variety of different, objects have been mentioned in the text. And we get these objects in some of the sites there, in Mesopotamia, in Egypt, even in Gulf also. So this is how that the trade strategy of the Harappans helped them to gather so much wealth. And unlike Egyptians or the Mesopotamians, they did not bury that wealth with the dead bodies, because they knew that once it is buried, it is gone forever. So they used that wealth for the welfare of the common people. They created those beautiful, very clean and hygienic cities for the common people. And then, of course, they could realize the dream of developing urbanization here. You know the story of Japan. After Second World War, Japan was almost finished, destroyed. The economy had completely ruined, was completely ruined. But within 15 years, Japan became a world economic power. And you know how they became world economic power? They implemented the same strategy as the Harappans did. Japan had the technology with them. So they started importing a lot of raw materials from developing countries that time, like India, China, various other Southeast Asian countries. They imported raw material, they made a lot of finished goods and supplied the finished goods to the same people from whom they were importing raw material. That is how they generated so much wealth. In 1950s, Japan was almost finished, but they held Tokyo Olympic in 1964, and there they could showcase the economic progress that they have made. They had defeated much bigger and much advanced countries. So this strategy that the Japanese adopted was same as the Harappans. So this is a lesson which can be learned from the earlier cultures, and therefore we give so much importance to the Harappans that they have developed some of the concepts which are still relevant. Then the Harappans developed number of basic technologies, like the pottery making was perfected by the Harappans. The tradition starts much earlier, but it was fully developed by the Harappans. Then the bead making, stone bead making technology. The ivory objects, making ivory objects, terracotta technology, it was perfected by the Harappans. And so this basic knowledge was created by the Harappans. And then of course, it was passed on from one generation to another generation, from one culture to another culture in the Indian subcontinent. So these are the basic impact technology that the Harappans developed. Perhaps the earliest evidence of textile comes from the Harappan levels. Cotton is found in Indian subcontinent dated to around 7000 BC. And in the Harappan levels, we have the cotton impression. We have some traces of the jute. Jute also was used by the Harappans for making textile. Also, we have the evidence of the domesticated silk. China had maybe earliest evidence of the wild variety of silk, but we have in the Harappan levels, the domestic variety of silk is found. Wool, we find the remains of wool also. The wool clothes were made by the Harappans. We are getting a lot of evidence about the printing technology also. They may have made some maybe terracotta blocks of printing. because the Harappans generated a lot of, they made a lot of colors from natural sources. Indigo, for example, they made indigo, the blue color, and it had so much demand in fact in other parts like in Mesopotamia, Egypt. So they were pioneers in this respect. And then once they have developed this technology, what I call as the Indian knowledge system, then it was passed on from one generation to another generation. And in India, we have a very strong oral tradition. And later, when maybe the earliest universities of the world were developed at Takshila, Nalanda, then Vikramshila, there this knowledge must have been, brought into the proper education system, and then of course, it was available. So this is the evidence that we are getting impact from the Harappan levels. So I just given you a few examples. What are the important contributions that the Harappans have made to the various spheres of science and technology. And this aspect which I spoke, that needs to be properly highlighted. And the museum that we are developing at the site of Rakhigadi, the site museum, there we want to showcase the contributions of the Harappans, because the common people are not really aware about that. They need to understand more, and then only they will start learning more about Harappan. They will start respecting the Harappan culture, and then they would like to visit Harappan sites. They do not have maybe attractive monuments like in Mesopotamia or Egyptian sites have, but they have very practical philosophy, and they have made tremendous contribution to the basic science and technology. So people want to understand that, want to know about that.